Hello, and how are you? And welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Over to my right here is Coach Defense of the Lockdown Defense podcast. Staples show just took place last night with Coach and Coach Kurt. Great show, covered a lot of stuff. A great thing about Coach's channel is that he does cover a little bit more than just his Chargers. He covers all around the NFL as well as the NBA for those of you who want to start going back and forth between the various sports. And down directly below me here is Captain Jack of the Captain Jack Rackham YouTube channel. You go ahead and catch him a whole bunch all over YouTube. And every Sunday you will catch him on the Raiders games because he always gets the pan and shot one way or another.
Not always. Not always, but I do try.
You and I have known each other for a little while now. I'm not going to lie. Every Raiders game that I've ever watched live on air, you have made the broadcast.
Well, then you missed some shows.
I'm not so sure about that. I wonder if the Canadian broadcast maybe covers a wider angle. They have zoomed on in you most of the shows.
Okay. Well, then you need to tape your Canadian shows because I know when I tell you what. Okay. When you see me, you can send me the pic because I know when I make the national broadcast, my phone will blow up. There are times when I'm like, I guess I didn't get seen, because it didn't blow up.
Yeah, well, I will say that there are some where they have a wider pan shot, but you're definitely within like the row that they kind of have that pan out of.
Okay.
But then most of the other ones, they zoom in, the tight angle shot to say that guy.
Yeah. So you're saying I'm fat though too.
You could say that if you want, but that's a you thing, not a me thing. And then over diagonally here, down on the right, pixelated like Minecraft, is the real Alex Givens of Arrowhead Addict. You can catch all of his articles and content at arrowheadaddict.com. Really a fantastic written content. Alex's stuff is fantastic. We will eventually find a way of twisting his arm in order to get himself something on YouTube here. We will eventually get there one way or another.
I'm working on it.
One way or another.
I'm working on it.
All right, guys. So we have a super, super exciting show for you guys tonight. We're going to break down the first preseason game, give you kind of a little bit of a threefer across the board. So it'll be.
I know that girl.
No, that's a threesome that you knew that girl from. Yeah.
Sorry.
But anyways, we're going to go down three things that went wrong, three things that went well, and then two things that each of our teams need to do to improve based upon how we looked in those preseason games. And we are looking on you, the viewers here at the show, to give us some questions, your comments, and also perhaps just straight up insults, whatever floats your boat. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and throw over to Coach and start with the LA Chargers and see how what Coach felt about his Chargers. Coach, we'll start with three things that went wrong for the Chargers.
Oh, we started with the wrong.
Yeah. You start negative and then end positive. I'm hoping to have us all leave here today without all bad, right?
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying, and I was going to preface this either way, no matter what direction we went to. I wouldn't count our chickens just yet. I understand it was a positive win. We doubled them up. The score was what it was, 34-17. But understand this: that the Rams are bad. The Rams are have a rough year. They have a lot of work to do when it comes to personnel and roster. So I took that game as
the Rams are bad. Okay.
I took that specifically as a moment in time where you were supposed to do that to them. Like what we did on offense, running the ball, passing, anything that we did offensively, especially, you were supposed to do. It was one of those things where if you didn't do it, I would question the level of talent on the team or the effort of the team if you didn't win glowingly. Like I said, they have Aaron Donald, and that's pretty much it. And Aaron Donald obviously didn't play. So all their rookies and backups got a lot of work, but they got a long way to go as far as being competitive. So I wouldn't wave the flag as if we're going to be absolutely dominant this year just yet. I think this weekend's going to be more of a test. But that being said, I think that the biggest and most glaring thing that went wrong for the Chargers was number one was penalties. Like, even despite the dominance on offense that they explored or they exuded throughout the game, there was a lot of penalties. The holding penalties, personal foul penalties. One particular penalty really bothered me, that JT Woods we were supposed to get off the field on 3rd and down, and he gets a personal foul penalty and gets them an automatic first down on the 1. So you get a stop, you get your defense off the field, and he gets a dumb personal foul penalty that gives them 3 more tries, maybe 4 at the touchdown, and ultimately which they end up getting. Now the Rams got a holding penalty, kind of pushed them back, but they still got a touchdown on that drive. So in real live games, that's a problem, because you're going to trade 7 for 3. They should have got no more than 3 on that drive, and they ended up with 7. So that's a problem. I think that needs to be cleaned up. That's the most glaring thing. And again, it gives me pause, because again, you have backup, D linemen and second and third and maybe 4th string guys might not make the team, and you still have holding penalties in running and passing. I think that's a big time and glaring issue. I also believe that and I spoke about this on the Bros podcast, my own podcast here, there, everywhere you can name, when they drafted Quentin Johnston. I said that my issue with him and them drafting him early in that regard, over a guy like Zay Flowers, is his ability to catch in traffic. He had some gimmies early on in the game. Now, you can say it was nerves or jitters or his first time out. I don't know what you want to classify it as, but he dropped a few gimmies early on in the game. And I actually believe that even that touchdown pass that he caught, I really think they put him back in the game for the express purposes of a confidence booster. Because I think he was out of the game at the moment that they had that drive, and they put him back in the red zone specifically for him to catch that pass. And if you look at Easton Stick, he didn't look anybody's direction but Quentin's. So he was throwing that ball, good, bad, or indifferent. He was throwing that ball to him. So I think that's
fine though. I needed that. My dynasty team needs that confidence boost.
That's what you needed. I know it's a hidden agenda. I know you want to for the sake of him being good, right?
No.
So, yeah, I'm with it. But yeah, I think that that's another issue. I think that was one of the things that needs to be cleaned up. And just overall run defense, again, it's still an issue. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, beat around the bush. I think that I get that we still have issues with personnel. Like, none of the starters is all reserves, guys that are trying to make the 53 playing in the interior, but they're still big guys. I mean, Scott Maylock, Drive, Clark, and all those guys were playing, and they still were getting moved in the running game, which allowed the all linemen to get on the second level, get onto our linebackers and things of that nature, which was problematic and giving them more yards than they should have gained or garnered. And yet again, against a team that is in my opinion, rebuilding. I feel like the Rams are a rebuilding team, and if you are getting moved and pushed by a rebuilding team, that should tell you that you have some work to do. So I think those are the big three for me. The penalties that we had, it was so bad that I think that Andrew Whitworth was taking a bet, a side bet during the commentary, saying what's the over under on the penalties for the Chargers in the first half, and I think he won the bet. I think he said like it was over 6, and they had over 6 by the first quarter. So it's not something that you want to be known for.
They typically say when you get penalties like that's on coaching, not so much even on the players, because a lot of the times they say that, the players are then effectively not being taught discipline, as opposed to, the players themselves making all the mistakes. Now, you're also dealing with preseason, so you're also dealing with guys that are not used to playing in the spotlight. So there is a little bit of that as well, right? But they do say a lot of that is pretty heavily on coaching and the emphasis on the P's and Q's, so to speak.
I mean, I'm not going to completely absolve any party. Like, I think the coaching and the went hand in hand. I mean, you have to police yourself. I mean, me being a former player, I knew, that if I didn't act accordingly in certain regards, coaches were going to get on me about it. But yet again, it's still up to me whether or not I'm going to be sound in my technique, or I'm going to be reckless, or I'm going to be do dumb things like get personal foul penalties. That kind of thing. It just, you have to really understand the level of how you have to control your opponents in game. In that regard.
Some dudes just can't either.
Yeah, true too.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you go against live fire. This isn't your team anymore, because you have a certain level of intensity as you play against your team when you go on one-on-ones in practice. There's a whole different level of intensity when you go against your opponents. So that adds a whole different level of emotion to it. So I think
trying to earn a roster spot.
Right.
Stay around.
A lot of variables. Yes, absolutely. So I think that particular aspect of it, like I said, to your point, Rich, I'm not going to absolve either party. I think that it goes hand in hand. I think everybody should be held accountable. The coaches and the players should be held accountable for those penalties. But yeah, overall, I think that should be on Brandon Staley's number one list of things he needs to improve on week to week. So that's not going to fly. You lose games like that just on sheer penalties. I don't give a damn how good you are offensively or defensively. If you are losing a penalty battle, you lose the game.
Broncos lost 2 or 3 games last year alone, pretty much based on penalties.
See my point.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. 100%. Yeah. So I remember with the Dallas game we had 2 years ago in SoFi. I remember that game. We lost it on holding penalties alone. Like, it literally was 2 holding penalties that cost us the game. So again, it's the margin for error is very slim. So you can't have those things. It needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be cleaned up in short order. Good thing that it happened this early and not week 1 of the season. I would much prefer it now, because we went through clean throughout the whole preseason with no penalties, and all of a sudden everybody's holding week 1. That's a problem.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's the most big and the most glaring issue. Like I said, Quentin Johnston's drops need to be cleaned up. I mean, because again, I think I spoke about this yesterday on my show, is that you can look good in, I think DZ calls it the underwear Olympics. I think he coined that phrase. Him one of the Boat Bros, one of them. You can look good in practice and when you're going against air and you're going against your teammates, just have speed. But when it's live fire and live bullets and people try to knock your head off, it's going to be a different level, and you need to be able to produce in that regard.
That was me. That was me. Sorry. I had something in my throat about.
You got to cut the cap. I don't know. I think I heard that from Rose first, but
about taking credit for something that I did.
Actually, he I am pretty sure that Catton brought that up on their podcast, and then as a result, it then got ran with.
Well, then that's a Bolt Bros property. It's on their podcast.
It's proprietary.
Proprietary
commentary for them if it's on their podcast, right?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if legally you can claim that.
I mean, I don't know.
If it came out of my mouth, it's mine.
Yeah, I guess the only disconnect I had is I wasn't present for when you coined the phrase. So when they repeated it, regurgitated it, then I definitely but I stole it. That's funny. Nice.
There we go.
Nice. But yeah, but like I said, it's all fun and games when you look good in practice. But when it's live fire and live bullets and you don't produce and you have the same glaring issue you had in college, it gives me pause. So I think that's one of the things we have to clean up as well. And those are the biggest 2. In the run defense is 3. But I think
that's always been there.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be fixed though. You can't have a team that's not even good in run game and run schemes be good and get 200 yards on you. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You asking too much of the offense at that point. If you're looking at it from a perspective that you're going to give up an enormous amount of rushing yards and you're going to constantly give up points as a result of that, you're putting a lot of pressure on the offense to match. Your job is to support the offense, and the offense's job is to support you. We're not supposed to put you in a bad spot on offense, and they're not supposed to put you in a bad spot on defense. They go hand in hand. So those things need to be cleaned up, and that's going to ultimately dictate how successful we are this year. But that's my take.
The other thing you end up doing when you have to, we'll call it backfill or overcompensate for poor run defense, with whether it be the personnel or scheme,
you get gashed.
Is you get absolutely slaughtered.
Gas.
Because exactly. Yeah, because then you bring the guy up in the box, and then you end up suffering the deep balls or deep crossers, or even shallow to mid seam routes that just kill you.
There you go. Especially if you got a fast guy in the slot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were done.
Yeah, toast. Barbecue chicken. That Shaquille O'Neal would say, barbecue chicken.
Yeah. I mean, you want to know who was really good at that was the Patriots when Tom Brady was there.
Oh yeah,
with Rob Gronkowski, right? They would run the ball really well and start gassing you for those paper cut yards.
That quick play fake, he bust you right in the seam.
Oh yeah, and you got killed. So that's actually one of the things I'm concerned that you may end up with as a result of the division rivals that you have in this division, Coach, after seeing your first preseason game. I think that the Broncos have a much bolstered tight end room, although I actually think I'm going to bring up my favorite name in the tight end room, Saubert, who I actually think would have been a perfect fit especially after what I saw, if I'm going to be honest, in the first preseason game. Because he reminds me of our tight end one that Peyton brought in from New Orleans in the trade.
Troutman.
Yeah.
Troutman. So Saubert and Troutman kind of seem to have very similar kind of hybrid skill sets where they can kind of do the same things. And if we're going to kind of tie over to the Chiefs, you have Kelsey, who's, a top tier wide receiver, let alone he can still block. Like, he's actually a good blocker too. Like, he doesn't really get the credit for it, but he can actually block. And last year, the Raiders had Moreau, who was actually a good blocker and pass catcher, underrated actually as a pass catcher, but was quite good at it. And again, so I'm looking at the Chargers now and saying, you have some deep tight end rooms in your division. You have options that each team has as tight ends in your division, and that can cause problems, like that, big time problems, especially if they start by hammering the ball and running, and then start going seam routes and whatnot in that middle of the field part, right? So
yeah, one problem causes another.
That's exactly it, and you're compensating for one to then expose another is the real issue, right? So.
Yep. Well, they got Everett there. He's a beast until he's tired.
Yeah,
I mean, he's only tired when he runs 70 yards, and you get down the goal line, and then you run a play right back to run no huddle. Who runs no huddle after a long play? Who does that? Like, don't get me started. I'm sorry. That's trauma from last season.
It would appear, Coach, that whichever therapist you went to go see for that particular issue did not do their job well.
We're still working it out. I'm still a work in progress, Rich. I'm still a work in progress.
It was buried deep. It was buried deep in the box.
There you go. Here's the trauma that I'm trying to work out in therapy.
Yeah, I would say a change in scenery for you on the couch would probably be required in order to work that one out, given where you're at still.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing her couch out.
Yeah. For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I like what you did there. Not the way I wanted. Not the way I wanted. I got it.
Yeah. So.
You're not supposed to be sleeping on it, Coach. You're supposed to be,
Well, he said wearing it out.
Wearing it out for all the wrong reasons.
He said wearing it out.
Oh man.
So I'm going to quickly take over for the Broncos on the same thing, and then let's start getting some comments in terms of those of you that watched all of the preseason games for the division, and we'll go from there. So my three things that I had went wrong. And I went much higher level because I think the Broncos had some pretty big time issues in that game. One was offensive line play. To make matters worse, I couldn't even distinguish between what was worse between the run pro or the pass pro. So I just chose both. Just wow. It was one. And then I'm not willing to go there. I'm not, and I have. Coach, you're quiet now. Coach, your mic was off. I didn't hear you, so you might have knocked a cable or something. My second one, while Coach is figuring out how to get his audio back, this is actually right up his alley. Is the defensive line play, I had a couple specifics pertaining to that to bolster that particular comment. One is we had very poor interior pressure up the middle of the line. And more specifically on that, we saw Allen, our off-season pickup, get stood up a lot. And this is kind of where I was thinking Coach might be able to step in, assuming we can hear him now. No, your mic's not working. No.
Hey, we're just getting EMP blasted this episode.
Yeah. So basically, I'm gonna run with it, and hopefully Coach can get his mic working again in just a minute. But when an interior lineman gets stood up by an O lineman, it basically completely removes all of their leverage. Alex, you could probably speak to that as a former O lineman. Your goal against an interior D lineman or just a D lineman like a D end or a D tackle is to get them out from lowering their pads as they're rushing you and to get them stood up because they then lose their leverage on you as a lineman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. First rule of thumb, get your hands on them first, but then absolutely take away their leverage.
Right.
Yeah. And it's never a good thing for someone on the interior, especially to get to that position, because then you're getting pushed back. You're ruining the stunt. You're getting pushed back into a linebacker. I mean, not good.
Right. And so that was a big thing that I noticed, and that was a huge concern for me because he was supposed to be at least a wash, if not an upgrade over Draymond Jones, and we were just seeing not good stuff. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't good stuff from him. Like he wasn't getting pushed backwards per se, but he certainly was not getting the pressure that we all expected him to get from that interior. And I noticed on so many times he was just getting absolutely just stood right up. And then also with regards to that is him getting stood up translated into poor run blocking as well, or run stopping on the interior of the line as well, which was rather unfortunate. And then my last of the big three was tackling. That was pathetic. I learned proper tackling technique through rugby, and then also through high school and all the other things, college, high school, whatever. What I saw in that game was awful. That was just bad. You can't get gash you can't tackle a guy behind the line of scrimmage and let him keep running through you and then get 10 yards. Like that is, you're good.
Your voice.
So Coach, quickly on the defensive side, before we kind of move on to the Raiders after I just gave my spiel on the Broncos, a quick defensive take on interior linemen getting stood up.
Big problem.
Huge.
Big problem. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all.
For those who are perhaps casual fans, what would some of those issues result in aside from the obvious?
Well, again, you have to look at it from a technique perspective for starters, because if you're getting stood up like that, your pad level's too high.
Yep.
That's the biggest, most glaring issue there. Your pad level's too high. You're coming out the ball too high. And again, that has to be worked out in practice. Like that should be day one stuff. Like, if you notice that if people's pad level too high in practice, then that's going to translate to game.
Especially like first practice of football ever type
ever,
stuff.
Right.
Here's an iron bar. Don't hit your head on
your pad level. That's it. Like there's no room for that. There's no room for that at all. I mean, because you can get into the idea, because again, it's the first preseason game, and I harken back to the Jets game where they said it was like 100 and some degrees on the field during a game for preseason, right? So you can, as the game wears on, you can attribute that to being a exhaustion or a fatigue issue. But if you're getting stood up in the beginning of the game, that has nothing to do with your fatigue level. It's all technique, and it's all coaching, and it's all the idea that, and that particular idea, I hang that directly on the coaches, because you got to see that right off. Like, you can't let that slide. Like, if you see these guys getting stood up in practice like that, or they get too high in practice, and you definitely have to address it and start to work on it to get the pad level down and get them underneath those O linemen, because if they're not underneath the O linemen and establishing that leverage, then you're going to get driven back and you're going to get gashed for yards all day.
Yeah, and what I saw often in those was also just complete overpowered on the line, which can start with your pad level, because if you're it's much harder to over leverage you if your pad levels are correct. right? So I mean, there's that as well on the D line, but I mean, there was a few of those big time, like there were some big dudes on the Cardinals line, and I will say, just on a side note, the announcer from Arizona, like I was pissing myself laughing because he made some of the stupidest comments I've ever heard. He's got one of those voices. It's like, hey man, like the guy had a football, and then like he like caught a football. Whoa.
Yeah, riveting stuff,
It
right?
it was fantastic. The announcer was so dumb it made my day.
That's funny.
There's a few of those out
69 dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got the dude for the Orioles who got suspended for just saying they haven't beat a team in 10 years. It's like,
I literally played that back twice. Like, what did he say?
I watched it and I was waiting for him to say, something bad or something, and I was like, what, did they play the wrong clip?
Right. That's what I thought. I thought it was I was just waiting for the bomb, and it never happened. I didn't understand it at all. I didn't understand it. Did you see who was the commentator? Was it because they said that it was it was a suspicion deserved. I think it wasn't Mike Tirico. It was who was it? He said that it definitely deserves suspension, but it should have been a person that levied the suspension that should have been suspended versus the person that actually got suspended. It was something weird like that. But
There was not a damn thing wrong with what the Orioles announcer said. In fact, he should be commended for the fact that he was actually saying good things about, because again, it involves the local team, the Rays, that they actually won and they actually swept the Rays in Tampa for like the first time that they've won in Tampa in years, and was commending them for that. But oh no, he got suspended.
Was it for stating facts? For
facts, right? For stating facts.
That's what I thought.
Sadly, in today's day and age,
everyone's so sensitive.
Facts will get you fired, but telling lies will get you.
Yeah, hell, I mean, Richie's whole country's not even releasing news that's negative on there. No one has access to that. So.
Telling lies like you witnessed a bridge collapse. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm too soon on that.
Don't even get me started on my home country. If there is anyone in the States that wishes to sponsor me, I will wear American clothing for the remainder of my life. I would have.
You might have some college eligibility, dude. We can get you on a rugby team or something. We can get you a host family.
Dude, please sign me up. like I want out. I'm not gonna lie. I want out. Yeah, I want out. It's bad, but anyways, let's just say I'm a Canadian, but I have a huge affinity for the U.S. I absolutely love the U.S. I go there at least 2-3 times a year at minimum. It's a wonder. I've made these comments now for years. It's a wonder I don't go.
South Park Canadian.
I pretty much am, and it makes you wonder every time I always wonder every time I cross the border if they're gonna like look at my file and be like, we have it on record that you've made comments about wanting to stay in the States.
Yeah.
You're not allowed through. You're not allowed through. But no, in serious, guys, love the U.S.
That's okay. Trust me, ICE won't deport you, and we'll talk about that off camera.
Awesome. Awesome. But anyways, I kind of agree with all these general statements on kind of defensive players and all that kind of stuff. And also, I mean, the same thing, Alex, goes for offensive linemen too. Yeah, your pad levels are important. Your footwork is important. Otherwise, the same thing kind of holds true on the offensive side.
It's
going to
be bad.
Yeah. Bad news bears, right?
Gotta have a bad time. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know what's bad about that? Speaking of from the Chargers game and the Broncos game as well, you don't really gain anything from that. Like you don't get any real good information. Like if the team you're playing is bad, you don't learn a lot. And if your team lineman is just blowing people off the ball, you just don't understand how good or bad your team is because things are going drastically wrong. So I don't like that. I hope that you can get a better game this week for everybody's sake.
I agree. I mean, these ultimately, whether we're talking Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers or Broncos, you want the best opponent on the field as possible during preseason because you want information to then make informed decisions.
Absolutely.
And right now, when you go against or you see a guy that just screws up fundamentals,
Right.
you're just like,
Yeah.
really?
And
What am I grading?
did he get a pretty decent contract to come there too? Like,
Yep.
yep. Like, damn.
Yep. But anyways, we're going to throw over to Captain and talk about his Las Vegas Raiders.
I thought he said we're going to throw up Captain Jack. So, that sounds about right.
I said
Throw up on Captain Jack. Throw up on.
Yeah.
Throw up the Captain Jack.
Yeah.
Understand the words that are coming out of my mouth.
I do. Okay. I do. I want to mention, by the way, because I don't have knob control on the broadcast. So for all the Raider fans, I'd like to say thank you for coming in. And also, obviously, all the other fans that came in. I see DZ gave likes to everybody. And I appreciate all the folks that are here. I got to give them some shout outs. Ed Winchell, our OG who was in here last week and apparently did a fantastic job. Raider Ben, Willie Wayne. I'm forgetting a bunch of people. Raider Ben. A lot of people that are here.
Ben got in twice.
Yes. Bambino, Mike Guerrero. Again, it's not me not wanting to acknowledge you. It's just that I don't have knob control on this channel at times. So this is one of those things. So thank you for being here. Thank you for all the other fans that are here because we definitely enjoy you joining us. And I can actually say this, and I know that Richie knows this, that starting week 2 for the broadcast of the Wild Wild West, I won't have to duck out at 9:00 or 8:50 p.m. I won't have to duck out, so I will be able to do the entire Wild Wild West show and still hopefully keep it under 2 hours so I can have it for a Friday show. Yeah, so I can rebroadcast it. But yeah, so for all those people that were bitching that, why is he leaving? It's because I had previous engagements with NFL Nation Live. So be sure to join us on NFL Nation Live starting week 2, Thursdays, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern to roll right into the Thursday night broadcast starting week 2. But, for week 1, it'll be regular time. So there's a plug for my boy Ref and Violator.
Can I just jump in on that one?
Yes, sir.
I want to give a huge shout out to Amy Trask. Obviously, I hope everyone at least here knows who Amy Trask is. I mean, a legend in the NFL. She had an audio interview on MHRT Network. And Amy and I have actually volleyed the last few weeks on Twitter now. Fantastic to interact with, knows an absolute tremendous amount about football. And she posts some of her interviews and whatnot. And to say they're refreshing would be an understatement. I really do recommend actively going out and finding her interviews. It's just super, super refreshing to see someone making some common sense comments about football, and also factoring in kind of a perspective from the front office as well, which it is super. It really is, as a football fan, you really do need to go and find those interviews. Amy deserves a tremendous amount of respect.
I think her and Coach went exchange some messages on Twitter.
Oh, we flirted. I flirted with her on Twitter. I'm not going to. There she is. That's my girl. Yeah. I definitely flirted with her on Twitter a few times, and she said hi back, so I'm in.
Be sure to go out and buy the book. I'm hoping that Amy can, if I ever see Amy, that I'll have her sign it. And as you guys could see, was wearing my shorts.
You were. Thank you.
or I wouldn't have stood up.
I'm glad we didn't have a Folgers moment.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. Just like OG knows, and I can't do that if I'm wearing my just my undies, and I mostly wear my undies. So anywhere, but there it is. Go back. Sorry, I'm watching the Phillies. Of course, when the Phillies aren't shown, Varsho hits a 2-run home run, and then somebody else scores. But anyway, going back to football.
Three things.
Three things that the Raiders. Okay, three things that the Raiders didn't really do the other day was they didn't have a shutout. That's one thing. The Raiders were responsible for every point that was scored in that game, aside from the point after touchdown, because they should have had a shutout, but Shelley kind of fumbled the interception, which ricocheted into the guy's hands and became a weird touchdown. I actually had to watch the replay. I'm like, what the hell happened? That was an interception. No, it wasn't. So they need to get the shutout. They need to seal the deal, which brings me kind of to the second thing. They came out like gangbusters in the first quarter, and they finished pretty much the same way with a lot of picks, and their defense played well, but they kind of skated a little bit in the second and third periods, or quarters, I should say. So they need to continue the enthusiasm all the way through, and they need to see a little bit more out of their draft picks, Young, who just came in, and granted, he just came off the list, started practicing just last week, and he went into the game. So I will attribute some of that to the fact that he hasn't. Yeah, Brad, I'm wearing pants. Yeah, thanks, Brad. Yeah. Hey, that's not what your wife said the other night. Oh, whatever.
He's jabbing himself now.
Anyway, but they need to continue through. They need to see some more things out of Young, and that's pretty much where I'm going to go, which will kind of lead me into one of the things we need to see in the next game. But I will say the three great things that they did. My God, they kicked the Niners' ass, and I know you guys are saying, yes, it's preseason. Yes, it was ones, or it was 2s and 3s against 2s and 3s. But I'm going to go back to the practices, okay? The beat writers for the Niners as well as the Raiders were just commenting about how the ones on the Raiders were just kicking ass on the ones on the Niners. So it wasn't just the game that the Raiders kicked their ass. It was the actual practices as well. Their defense played well from all of the practices and throughout the game. No, not Commando, Kev. Not Commando. That's on my OnlyFans.
Can we address the idea that they're overly concerned about what you have on below your waist? I'm just curious about that.
Because it's a running gag on my show. It's a running gag. That's why. That's why I even included it in here. So it's on although I don't think it's on NFL Nation Live, but we'll have to make sure we do that as well. But it's a running gag. But yeah, they played well the entire series. All the days against the Niners, they kicked ass. They kicked ass. To include Aiden O'Connell, the fourth string, or sorry, I'm not saying fourth string. Actually, technically now he's the third string. But the 4th round pick, which everybody was up in arms over, it's like, oh my God, who is this guy, and why did they waste a pick on him? Well, folks, if you go back to the pre-draft analysis, and at the very end, when people were thinking like, well, who do we draft as a quarterback that's not already one of those guys that's gotten a lot of pub, and everybody was saying how fantastic cerebral Aiden O'Connell was. Okay, and he showed it. When you got an offense that is a Josh McDaniels offense. Hey, Biggie, what's going on, brother? And you got to know what the hell you're doing in this offense. And O'Connell came in there and just looked like he's known it for a while. Granted, I know one game. But it's against 2s and 3s against 2s and 3s. But he shows me even when he was blitzed, it was so nice to see a quarterback with wearing number 4 that didn't curl up into a ball and go like this when the defender was coming at him. Okay, and that's just for you, Coach.
Dang.
I
got from Derek Carr real quick.
One quick thing is a two-parter. The fact that they gave him 4 right after Derek Carr left is disrespectful. That's part one. Part two, that same Derek Carr looked really good in New Orleans over the weekend. I'm just saying.
I will. Yeah, one series, 5 of 8 with a touchdown. I watched the game. I watched the game.
The drive was good.
Good. He played well.
He did.
Okay. One series. Actually, I applaud Derek Carr because he finally crossed the 50-yard line in the Superdome. In a game. Something he was not able to do last year in a 33-0 blowout.
It's like that scene it was like the second major league where he's like, there's Parkman doing that shimmy, makes the women in Cleveland puke, you know.
Right.
There's Derek Carr throwing that spiral. I love that.
It's funny what a different uniform would do for a guy. He's still a dick.
He's still a dick. He's still a dick. That's right.
But Captain, if I can speak to one of the things you just said there, I have no idea why any Raiders fan would be upset with taking a potentially even a reasonable quality quarterback in the 4th.
Yeah.
Let's look at this as an extreme example. Every team needs a backup quarterback, whether or not you like to admit it or not. And the higher the quality of backup quarterback you have, the more likely you are to then win the games when your starting quarterback inevitably will go down for one game or half a game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is going to happen. So having a guy that can do the thing is always better than the guy who sucks at doing the thing, right? And moreover than that, if you have a 4th-round quarterback who can step in and replace Garoppolo, who's going to be finding himself in a hospital bed surrounded by Vegas strippers pretty soon because he always gets hurt.
He's going to pull his groin at the Bunny Ranch.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or have his groin pulled at the Bunny Ranch. It depends on which.
Well, there's definitely going to be groin and pull. Yeah. It depends upon who's doing what at which time. Okay.
Yeah. And so then the question is, okay, what if this guy turns out to be the guy?
And if you allow me to continue, because everybody was bitching about, what did we do? I said, this guy, I have no issue with. This guy was a walk-on in high school. He was a walk-on at Purdue who ended up being the starting quarterback for several years, which means he's got chutzpah, he's got drive, he's got, as he also said in Major League, he's got marbles.
Cojones.
Okay. No. You have no marble. Marble. You need marble. You have no marbles. Yeah, he's got marbles. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, and Cool Cat said he doesn't cry. He doesn't cry as well. Plus, he doesn't wear mascara, but that's another thing.
Wow.
Dang. How quickly they turn.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait a second. Whoa. For 9 years, okay, I supported, I cajoled, I said he doesn't play defense. It's always not on him. And last year, prior to last season, I said, this is it. If he don't do it, I'm done. And I was done. Now, having said that, he will lead the Saints to the NFC South title because the rest of the division sucks. The Saints have a good division, Saints have a good defense. So it's kind of obvious to me that Derek Carr will lead the Saints to the South title. That's easy. Hell, I was talking to the guy today. He goes, we stole your quarterback. I'm like, no, my quarterback still plays for my team. He's not my quarterback. My quarterback is on my team. And he was talking about Carr. And I said, you didn't steal nothing, dude. Okay. I said, and then I was talking to another guy. I said, hell, I could win the NFC South playing for the Saints. And I'm 58 years old with a bad ticker, bad knees, and bad everything else, But I can, and by the way, I can't throw a football to save my life. Tim Tebow has a better throw than I do.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I can win the NFC South. That says a lot. Okay. So yeah, I firmly believe, and I'll give credit where credit is due. He'll lead them. But the thing is that going back to AOC4, okay, the kid showed up, one game, yes, but he shows that he knows the fundamentals. He gets the ball out quick. He goes through his progressions. He doesn't curl up in a ball when a defender is over the. In fact, he threw him over the top. Did you see that play, by the way? He was in the middle of. It was in the middle of the sack, and he kind of ducked his shoulder, and the guy went over the top of it. It was good because
I got my eyebrows up when I saw that.
Yeah, so that was fantastic to see. And the other thing, the last of the other kind of things that we did well, we ran the ball well. And I have the stats here because I know I was going to need them. As far as average, okay, rushing average. Where the hell? Shoot, I thought I had it. It was here. I thought they had average. It was just here. Yeah, I swear it was because it says Las Vegas rushing. Okay, it had the average, but I guess when I shrunk the page, some of the columns went away. But anyway, Zamir White did it come back. Yeah, here we go. See, it's here. Okay, see when I shrunk the page. Okay, Zamir White averaged 3.3 a carry, and he's the guy that's probably going to be RB1. Sincere McCormick had a 3.0 average, and Amir Abdullah, the guy that a lot of people forgot about, had a 4.4 average. Right. So when you look at all of the averages of all of the running backs, they all averaged 3.0 or better. And even Damian Williams, the old Chief, had a 3.8 average on 4 carries. So there you go. People are poo-pooing about, well, what are the Raiders going to do? Well, we'll see what they want to do. It's going to be a quick hit offense with O'Connell or Garoppolo playing that offense under McDaniels, running as needed. And as long as you keep the clock ticking and your defense, which has played the best, even though it's a preseason game, they played the best defense that I've seen that I can remember. And it was like, wow, look at these guys. And they're hungry. And it's good to see. So we'll see if that continues. What needs to go for the next game, we need to see more out of Young, like I was saying. And our first-round pick, which has just got off the PUP list, maybe – and it's not going to be this game. It's not going to be against those Rams. It's going to probably be against the Cow Patties in Dallas in week 3. I want to see what we got out of the number 7 pick, the man-child of a defensive end, whose name escapes me at this point, and I'm very sorry. Ben, he's a real Chiefs fan. He's a real Chiefs fan. I can attest to all of these people here, Ben, are real.
I've been around, dude, for the Trent Greens and the Tyler Palcos and the Tyler Things.
Yeah, he's not bandwagon. Yeah, he's not bandwagon.
I may not be 58, but I'm
and a half.
Chiefs in my whole life.
58 and a half. 1 year away from Roth IRA and 401k, baby. And I'm 1 year, actually 13 months technically, but 1 year.
Medicare eligible.
Who's counting though? Who's counting?
I'm counting. My ass is not working. When I hit Roth IRA, 401k, my ass is retarded. I don't even wait on Social Security. I'm retarded. I'm retarded. Damn right. The only work I'm going to be doing is on my YouTube channel with you guys. That's it. So again, did I answer what we need to see? Oh, we need to continued effort as well, for the next games. Well, I'm very happy with the results. Again, 2s and 3s beating 2s and 3s, but 1s beating 1s in the scrimmages. Now today, and I'll say one of the bad things today in the notes, Stafford was carving up our D-backs. Last week, they just whooped whoever the Niners had out their quarterback. Stafford was carving them up. Bennett had looked like crap, as the rookie should, but Stafford was carving up our D-backs. So there you go. We got to improve in that area as well. So there you go. From last week, and then even throwing some stuff in from today.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll get with you, Ben. I'll get you all their information, or you guys get with Raider Ben. He wants to get with you for his stuff.
You're muted, Richie.
So Captain got off a little early there. Probably not the first time you've heard that, Captain. But
yeah.
Sadly, you jumped the gun.
Hey, best 15 seconds of her life, baby. Best 15 seconds of her life.
Hey, the golden rule on the sports talk show is 3 pumps and it counts.
That's right. That's it. Hey, bitch, I got mine. If you didn't get yours, you better catch up.
So he went through all 3 segments in one shot there.
He definitely did.
I'm sorry. Were we?
You were just going.
Yeah, he was.
No one was going to stop you, dude. You blacked out.
Yeah, he was a roll.
Okay. Check, please. I'm done. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick
around.
around.
That is good for you. Need a cigarette now?
Yeah. Hey, always leave on a high note, just like Costanza. Okay, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm out.
It just seemed like a very fitting comment to make given the circumstances. But anyways, Alex, over to you. Let's hear what 3 things that the Chiefs, what went wrong for your Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah. Well, they lost the game. So that's not – there's the ultimate wrong. But,
right.
It is preseason. Mahomes played 1 drive. Kelsey didn't play. Chris Jones isn't out there. So, hard to, kind of totally assess the starters. But I will say that was the first thing I wrote or noted was just that the first team offense wasn't totally in sync as it usually appears. Granted, that could have been, guys like Pacheco and Kadarius Toney and Kelsey, people that they expect to be present and available for week 1 weren't out there. It at least helped get some of the other receivers more in the mix. And obviously their depth at receiver was kind of on display, but to have your first team offense out there, predominant first team offense and not in the drive in points, I would call is a bit of an upsetting thing, in terms of assessing how the starters look in week 1 of the preseason. And to cap it all off, when they were out there, they tried a Andy Reid special tight end sneak on 4th down that they did not prevail on. So,
Film study, baby. Film study. It's not like we haven't seen it about 1,000 times.
Yeah, before. It was Blake Bell too, former college quarterback. So you would have hoped that he'd have a little more instinct to get the 1 yard, but never mind. And then second thing that really stood out in terms of the everyone as a whole is just that there was really absolutely no presence of a pass rush whatsoever. Chris Jones wasn't out there. They weren't really making it a point to have the number 1 rotation, but even with the 2s and 3s out there, like first round rookie Felix Uzoma didn't get a whole lot of pressure in terms of the 4 men up front. They did get 2 or 3 sacks, but those were off of blitzes, and you could tell that they started blitzing to to generate pressure, which, if that's what you got to do to get some sacks in the third, fourth quarter of a preseason game, that could be pretty alarming. So,
Who did play for you in terms of your edge rushers and whatnot, or like
like everyone pretty much played. Chris Jones, the only one that didn't play. Everyone else, but like Amenahue played. He's not going to be available for 6 weeks. So he got in Karlaftis. I think those two played 1 or 2 drives. Maybe they started rotating him in after 1 drive, so it wasn't like they were out there for all that much. But then, your Felix guy, your Mike Danas, your other third string kind of fringe guys. You would have thought you'd seen a little more fire and pressure out of them, trying to stay relevant in the rotation than what was out there. So, 2 biggest things right there, trying to look at it from what's the biggest takeaways, I guess, heading into the regular season. I'm not going to sit here and assess the third stringers on how they're going to help them be successful in week 1, because that ain't going to matter at that point. And then, the third thing that went wrong, I guess, in terms of assessing the more impactful players, looking at kind of the first 3 picks, your Felix Uzoma, Rashid Rice, and Wanye Morris. I wouldn't say that any of them really, in what would have, the first taste of looking how these, the first 3 rounds, obviously guys that you expect to contribute a little more than others would perform, wasn't really anything overly special with any of them. Like Felix, he did get in the backfield. I think he got 1 QB hit. And you could see him be successful at times in pass rush, but there's other times frankly, you got kind of put on his back a little more than he probably should have been. Watching how some of these other, and maybe part of this assessment is coming off of watching Hard Knocks and seeing Will McDonald just apparently be a freak of nature. And I'm like, damn it, we got the one that plays too high. Talking about Zach Allen, same
right?
Felix.
Yeah.
Felix plays high, and he tries to use his legs more. Like, he's a big bull rush. I'm just going to overpower you off of the edge because I could get away with that in the Big 12.
That's not going to work. That is not going to work.
And the thing that sucks is I think that the plan was very clearly to work him in and not really throw him to the wolves. But then Amenahue getting this 6-game suspension, you're going to have. He's going to have to, because there's nothing else out there to get any production. So, it was first week, first live game action for him. So you hope that that's the building block and it kind of propounds from that. But, I thought the first three picks and kind of the assessment of them, nothing really stood out. Rashid Rice, at least, you could show he worked his way into the passing game. You could see his maturity with running routes and finding soft spots and coverage. I think he had 3 catches for 30 yards, but they spread the ball. I think every single person that is listed as a wide receiver on the roster had at least 1 catch. So, they were definitely getting guys in there and spreading it out. So, there were some flashes, but he also had a pretty key drop. So, those kind of the 3 biggest things that went wrong. And then generally speaking, there was awful tackling. The Saints were able to just do whatever regardless of who was out there. Derek Carr goes out and marches down the field. Sure. But then to let Jameis Winston come out, kind of do the same thing. He's just like Mr. Turnover King. Just let, them run the ball over you. Just kind of poor tackling. So those would be the 3 biggest things, 3.5 biggest things that didn't go well for KC.
Yeah, that's. I think those are fair. Like I said, I caught glimpses of the game, but I didn't get all of the games. So there's.
I need to address this. No. So I've seen someone else is saying, there's some Broncos fans saying they're talking about trading to the Broncos. I'm like, I highly doubt that KC, if they do move on, if they were going to move on from him, would trade him in the division and for a player straight up.
Definitely not
each one's picks. Yeah.
No.
Veach would. I mean, they don't need Jacobs. Jacobs is a hell of a player, but they're not going to trade one dude for another contract dispute and not get any draft capital out of it or anything like that. So
No.
It is.
And any Broncos fan that thinks that KC is trading Chris Jones to the Broncos, they need to lay off. Sorry, in the words of Stephen A. Smith,
They
lay off the weed.
There we go.
Okay, like,
dude. I'll give you Zach Allen.
Call that what it is, all right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just call that what it is. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, literally, Veach got a call from Peyton, and he's like, so what about Chris Jones? And then Veach looks at him, looks at the phone, looks at his computer screen, looks back at his phone, and says no, and then hangs up. Like,
yeah, seriously. Are you gonna be like, Sean? I could help you save Denver or Bronco football in Denver. I'll take 5 first-round picks.
We'd both like to say 50% car insurance.
Here's a Geico.
I'll give you Bo Callahan.
Bo Callahan.
I don't want anybody who doesn't go to his birthday party.
Yeah.
I will say though, on the Chris Jones situation, granted there's really, I mean, nobody knows what's gonna happen, but for my assessment, I would think that an extension is imminent, because I think if they weren't going to do that, it doesn't make sense for him to not continue to hold out and accrue fines, or they would have already moved on from him and not had this looming. And I think that I think they're working out semantics, and you can see Chris Jones all over social media is obviously having fun with it because he likes every damn tweet. Like, he'd be referenced like, I hear Chris Jones wants to go play for the Browns, and he'll like that, and then all of Chiefs Twitter's like, what the hell is this? So I think that a deal is imminent. It's just working out the final numbers of it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for this to still be a thing or him to not be in camp by now. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think they realize that the impact that he has based upon the level of practice they've had and the game they've had. They realize that if he's not in the middle of this defense, we got problems. I think
and it's like,
it's glaring.
Like other shows, they try to compare it, right, to like, well, they moved on from Tyreek and we're fine. It's like that is an apples to oranges comparison.
So different.
It's one thing to get rid of, one cog in the offensive machine, but still have the guy who's ultimately making the decisions and growing, doing it.
Alex, you guys might all be too young, except for maybe Captain and I. But there was an old skit on TV where they had this like the really awful like mock dating thing. So it was called Lowered Expectations, and it had a fantastic intro, and it was always like, basically like a guy tries to meet someone and like the woman was trash, and then they had like the little like rainbow thing was like lowered expectations.
It sounds like an MTV show.
Yeah. So basically that's going to be the
one that come off the bus.
That's going to be the Chiefs theme song, basically, if you guys end up Jones, because you're going to have to bring everything down.
Well, score 40 points a game.
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes was the only won the most games last year when his defense gave up 28 points or more. So that's kind of been their blueprint, which is sad though, considering Chris Jones has been there getting 15 sacks. And they've been second in the NFL in sacks. So it's kind of like you're only going to make it worse by getting rid of the dude that produces the most for you.
Right.
Yeah. It'd be those games like that Colts game that when you're struggling a little bit on offense, that you need the defense to get a stop or two, that's when it's going to really show its head. It's really going to show its ugly head.
And in those like those close, Bills Bengals.
Yeah,
our Chargers really. All of those games always come down to the last possession, or who has the ball and who makes a mistake first in that moment. Alex, Chris Jones has made his presence known in at least 4 of those games.
Right.
You've had 1-score games against the Broncos most of these past 3 years.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, I'm sorry, but at some point that's going to catch up to you, right? Like I don't care who you are, I don't care what's going on. at some point against a divisional rival, if you keep on only winning by a score or less, that will catch up to you quickly, right? Like it's going to happen. Like whether you want to admit it or not, it's going.
No, I'm admitting it. Me being a smartass about it was acknowledging it.
I caught that, but I just chose to ignore it.
I just wanted the record to be clear. I didn't want you to think I was just being totally smug. It was acceptance by smugness.
It's in your nature. It's the smug.
Like, well, yeah, regular season's right around the corner.
For folks that don't know, like I said, that is Junior Smug. He's got Papa Smug and Mama Smug, Sister Smug. If you want to have a person that you just really want to strangle through your frigging computer, it's that guy.
It's probably because we're going to talk about the Chiefs
your mom made some awesome comments though. Like your mom when she's joined the show.
It's true.
She's a football mom, man.
She's a wonderful lady. I really I think that's important to get out on the airwaves. Your mom seems like a wonderful woman, so congratulations.
She is.
I think they're all pretty mild mannered. They just support the smug train.
Yes. Yeah. So
Ed gets it though.
Yeah.
So.
He said it when he first got the chat. His daddy smug in the building. I remember that.
Ed gets it.
Ed gets it.
So Alex, on that same note, what are 3 things that you saw KC do well?
They lost.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, there we go. How's that not smug, dude? I
had to throw it in there.
Yeah. So I'd say one positive glass half full thing to look at is, they lost 26-24, but they were down 17-0 in the first half. And then, at least with the Shane Buechel, second, third team guys, some of these undrafted receivers, as well as Richie James, they were able to come back and had the lead until Chris Olodokun, who's a second-year practice squad QB, he threw a pick late, which ultimately resulted in losing. But I thought that was at least a good show of fight and effort. Like looking at the coach terms, right? But to be able to come back from down 17 points with third string practice squad guys, I thought was at least a good testament to the effort in terms of the depth they have at those positions. Overall, I thought number one big thing there. Second thing, like I kind of mentioned, talking about the first team offense, I thought it was at least a positive reinforcement, so to speak, that almost all the receivers got involved in the passing game in some way, especially with Kelsey not being out there and just kind of, having to sort of work out that rotation with, wanting Kadarius Toney to be wide receiver 1, but not necessarily being able to trust that he'll be there for all 17 games, on top of, having really some unproven veterans and then a mix of rookies. I thought it was nice to at least see some guys kind of make their presence known more than others. I mentioned Rashid Rice, but biggest guy that stood out was Richie James. Gabe was like Richie James, old Science guy that KC signed this offseason, really from the preface of he was going to be the kick returner, but he's apparently been making pretty good connection with Mahomes in practice. And then, he had 2 really nice grabs for 44 yards and a touchdown in this game, as well as a return to kick for a 35, 40 yards. So, I thought that was a positive thing to see him work into the passing game and not only be the, returning specialist. Other guy, Justin Ross, also caught a touchdown, but then subsequently got hurt in practice Monday. And so we're monitoring that situation because obviously the Justin Rice hype train has been full steam ahead and only propounded once he caught a touchdown, which I thought was crazy when they announced as his first touchdown since Clemson. You're just like, dang, that's wild to think about. But, he didn't play at all last year. So, and then a couple undrafted potential practice squad guys Kakoa Crawford and Nikio Ramingo, both actually are undrafted guys that were teammates at Cal at one point. They didn't both finish there, but both of them put together a pretty solid outing in terms of working with Shane Buechele out, when they put the rotation into the later guys. So I thought that was a good benefit, looking at the depth of the wide receiver room and knowing that they're kind of going to need that depth because, I know Caps told me, I know Gabe's told me, and I now know as monitoring the offseason that you can't count on Tony to be there full time. And then, that's tough when you lost him and you're relying on Kelsey and then Valdez-Scantling and Justin Watson and Sky Moore, really are the three veterans that would be left. So I think it's good to get a lot of people exposed in the passing game and figure out which guys you can rely on when you get in that situation. Then third thing I thought went well, which kind of plays in hand with them being unable to get pressure with their front four. They were at least able to generate pressure with their, special package type guys. Drew Twaincool signing looks. What am I making excuses about? I don't even know. But
that might be annoying, Sharif, and maybe it's not you. He might be doing the excuses for the former Raider quarterback, because I'm looking at the chat as well.
Oh, fair enough.
Although you got a shit ton of excuses because you're smug anyway. So
yeah. But back to what I was going to say, because I know Coach will really enjoy it. The Drew Twaincool signing looks like it's going to pay off quite nicely with how they were using him, and Spags. I was kind of unsure of when they signed him, exactly how they would use him with having Bolton, and but it kind of clear watching this game. They definitely have. Yeah, there we go.
My apologies. Yeah, you're full of excuses.
What was I making an excuse about?
You're smug. Shut up.
I'm just trying to know. I just want to know where my presentation's off here. I put a lot
of
effort.
You're right on smug, baby. I mean, you are in mid-season form.
Mid-season
form.
There we go, Ed. I'm in peak form right now.
That's what he
Frank
said.
will look good out there. He had a sack, 5 tackles. So it's going to be exciting to see how they implement him more, when he's playing a full game. And then Coach's other guy, that's why I knew he was really going to like this one. Chamari Connor also impressed. I know I sent you the tweet kind of highlighting the special packages they used him in, blitzing them, and he got a sack as well. So, it sucks that they had to do that kind of stuff to generate pressure, but at least exciting that a 4th-round rookie that was on Coach's sleeper list and Coach's one of his old favorite Chargers probably were, able to produce a little bit on the defensive side of the ball.
Highlighted the defense. I understand. I think, I guess.
Hey, Bishop, I'm sure you said that last year too. And what happened?
Oh boy,
we did. And to his credit, I'm going to give Ed Winchell the biggest credit of all. He says KC is the team to beat and will remain to be the team to beat until such a time as they are not the team to beat. And as of right now, that still goes for this year as well.
Hey, man, Ric Flair's the GOAT for more than one reason. He said to beat a man, you got to beat the man.
That's right.
That's it. But yeah, I like Connor's game, man. I'm telling you, that kid, and the fact that you don't have to, utilize him on every snap, you can just kind of deploy him how you want to. That's another bonus.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to. All right, Bishop, whatever. You can't bring that up, bud. They won the Super Bowl after that, so
okay,
that's moot.
Look, my man, I can't believe I'm actually defending Kansas City Chiefs here, but I have to. That ship has sailed. They won the Super Bowl without him.
I'll say, if Chris Jones is there, then I'd believe you.
Now, if your comment is they have lost their best defensive player, as Alice just said, now you're having a valid argument here because let's be honest, the dude's like the second best D tackle in all of football.
And there it is.
Right. So I mean,
probably the second best pass rusher in general. Like
the interior for sure. I mean, we can argue the Bosa's and all that good stuff, but yeah, definitely from the interior, he's definitely one of the best interior rushers.
And before we start going down these ridiculous comments, I truly was in the camp where I thought that the Chiefs would struggle to adapt their offense last year. I really was, because I felt that they were going to have to manipulate so much that it was going to be a struggle. I think I still actually stand by the fact that I feel that was a valid comment to make last year. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes showed, and dude, whether you like it or not, and this is directed at Bishop specifically.
I do agree with this though.
That is an issue. That is an issue.
Right. Whether you want to admit it or not, last year Reid and Mahomes showed that they can adapt their offense to become like a running / passing and do other things and be very successful. So
you're not wrong though. If Kelsey does go down, it could be a wrap. But I mean, you can say that about any team. So
I was going to say, if you take away,
I don't really buy that argument. Like they were saying that today on Get Up. They're like, well, I think that the Bills are better because if Mahomes goes down, the Chiefs are screwed. It's like, well, no shit. Josh Allen goes down, the Bills are screwed. Like if anyone goes down, they're like, well, that's just a deeper roster. And I'm like, no, like if you use quarterback or number one weapon, you're gonna be worse. I'm sorry.
Tell him how you really feel. Tell him how you really feel. Tell him.
I remember sitting there. I was like, did he just? It was Booger McFarland. I'm like, did he really just say that?
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second.
Look what we're talking about here.
I was going to say, look at the source of that comment. I
just think like, damn.
Booger McFarland. Booger McFarland can't read. Well, okay, I'm gonna go back to the Thomas Hollywood Henderson jibe. Okay, about Booger McFarland couldn't spell cat if you threw him the C and a T.
His name's Booger. I mean, come on.
I mean, well, let's talk about the decisions he's made in life. He calls by Booger. Let's start there.
And they were like, Booger, you were on that Buccaneers defense. And I'm like, I forgot he was on that.
Yeah. Jesus.
But yeah, I mean,
hey, I use my pinky.
You're not wrong. I mean, if Kelsey or Mahomes goes down, it is obviously that you got to wash your hands of that season because outside of
my hands, I got to wash my hands after putting my pinky up my nose.
Yeah.
But so I mean, obviously, I think those are some things that make a ton of sense. But let's be honest here. Like, if you're starting quarterback who's within the top 10 in the league goes down, you're pretty much toast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
like you're toast. Like let's be honest.
The only people that wouldn't be toast are probably the Raiders because they might be better if Garoppolo goes down. I mean,
yeah.
Like
I said, okay, it's plug and play with Hoyer, which is why he didn't play. Why put your guy who knows the system into a preseason game when he's right when he's plug and play?
Well, too.
Right. What I'm saying is O'Connell showed himself, and that's why they only played O'Connell and Garbers. They already know what they got with Jimmy G spot, and they know what they got with Hoyer. Hoyer's there, and if O'Connell continues to improve, right, then Hoyer, I'd say, ditch the contract, make him be an assistant quarterback coach. You got him on speed dial. He's taking a roster spot.
Well, you can put him on that emergency.
Hoyer had two problems, Captain. One, O'Connell kicked out his walker on the way to the field, so he couldn't play. And two, the other problem with Hoyer is that the equipment staff didn't include the pens in his locker room gear. And so he just he simply couldn't make the field that day. But don't worry, he'll be back next game. But I mean, I agree. To kind of speak to Alex's comment there, the entire purpose is that when you find your top 10 quarterback in the NFL, you pay him accordingly, but then therefore the rest of your team, by and large, will suffer slightly. And that's just and that's not a knock on you. That's not a knock even on the Chargers for the Herbert contract. You just simply have to pay the man because they're worth that much.
The way the market goes.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
Hey,
So,
we need a drop of Richard Pryor at Silver Street. You know, pay the man. Pay the man.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you have a guy that's at that level, of course you're going to have a drop off. They're a top 10 quarterback of the NFL. Like stop it.
Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, stop it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mahomes is atop the mountain, and Josh Allen is basically grabbing his heels because he's right at that same general level, give or take. Now, does he have the same accolades? No. But, I mean, you have to be honest. He is throwing his team on his back, Josh Allen is, and getting him to where they're at. He literally runs through guys like he's like a moose running down the field. Like, he is good.
Yeah, no, he's good.
Yeah, he is that good, right?
Yeah. I think you judge elite quarterbacks by their ability to overcome deficiencies on your team. You know, for the most part, this is ironic to me. I didn't realize this, but the Bills were actually 9th in rushing last year, and I thought they were a terrible rushing team. But it was all based upon Josh Allen.
Oh, it was mostly Josh Allen's stats.
Exactly. So that tells you a lot. They can't run the ball with a running back for to save the damn life. But Josh Allen rushes all the time, and they're 9th in rushing in the league.
Right. Because the dude's a moose.
Yeah.
Like the dude's a moose running. Like he's massive.
But I mean, their running back one was Devin Singletary, and it's like they were top 10 in rushing. So you tell me that was because of Devin Singletary? Like, no.
It wasn't because of him or James. It was definitely all Josh Allen. So yeah. Again, that tells you that separates good from elite when they can overcome deficiencies or overcome dysfunction. That's another thing. Dysfunction on your team. So that tells you exactly who's elite.
In an effort to make sure we keep this rolling, I'm going to go ahead and break down the Broncos. Top 3
I was going to say, I'm done, so you don't have to bitch about me. I'm sorry.
Cap did all his and
covered it.
So with regards to the 3 things the Broncos did well, as much as I slagged on some of the other elements of the Broncos play, which, I mean, there were so many things that were just so bad in that preseason game. We had a good number of our depth pieces that are in behind the starters who actually played very, very well. So we had a few guys that I do think are important to kind of call out. We had Jalen Virgil, who those who are regulars of the show, who played very well. We had Aseng Bassi, who I have been a fan of since he was a Vic Fangio guy, who Fangio demanded to stay on the roster. And let's just say it's a good thing that Fangio did that, because Bassi was one of the best players on the team in that preseason game. He was also the guy that caught that squib kick on special teams. If you guys remember, for those of you who didn't see the game, the Cardinals tried a squib kick that just bounded down the field. Bassi caught it first shot, like without fumbling, without any bumbling at all, and just nailed it. And that is a feat in and of itself. Special teams play makes or breaks you as that depth piece on the roster. So
get on the roster.
Yeah, like you're on the roster because you're that good, right?
I got a buddy on the Bears, and he's like with 28 now, and because he plays special teams. I mean, he just signed a 2-year deal with the Bears because of special teams. Yep. So
Jaquan McMillan, who is a depth cornerback piece, really had a pretty darn good game as well as a depth cornerback on the Broncos. I will say our defensive backs for the Broncos, we kind of have a bit of an embarrassment of riches, and it's kind of low key. It is something to really look at. We're going to be cutting guys that are going to be picked up within like an hour of getting cut from the Broncos, who will be probably close to being starters or at minimum second string on other teams. And then another 2 guys to bring up is McMillan, who they spelt his name wrong on his jersey. So that was great. He's the running back undrafted free agent who I expect to make the 53-man roster for the Denver Broncos.
It's not a good sign, though, if the equipment guy screws up your name.
Well, they were just smoking.
Yeah, right.
Screwed it up.
Like Vince Mateo.
He did a bong. The guy that spelt the names on the jersey just did a bong hit and spelt it wrong.
So he's Canadian.
No, he's from Colorado, where they love their weed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Stay off the weed. Where's the drop, man? Come on.
I know. Yeah.
Stay off the weed.
Thank you.
And then Garcia, who kind of came out of nowhere for Broncos fans, because he hadn't really been mentioned in any of the practices. But Garcia, as a 3rd/4th string defensive tackle in the middle of the field, absolutely killed it in the preseason game with 2 sacks and a bunch of pressures. He is a guy to watch out for on the Broncos. Absolutely. I could see him even making the 53 given our depth issues on the defensive line, especially the interior. So those are that's kind of like the one thing. Another one is just as a very high level general comment, we saw a better offensive look even though our offensive line sucked. We saw routes and route trees that were going to work as long as there was better blocking. That is on the scheme. You can't fix everything in 1 year, but we saw concepts that are way better, just way better. And then
Russ, I thought Russ looked better, even though I texted Coach that he's washed.
Yeah, he did. So
he did look better though.
I tried to defend him, right? When we were talking about it.
So,
and then he brought it back up. You know,
he did. So I mean, as much as I think that Russ is never going to be the Russell Wilson of old, and that's why I wanted offensive line. I wanted us to really heavily draft that rather than go after stupid picks, which I think we did. In Wilson's defense, he looked way better in a Sean Payton offense. He was making better reads. He was trying to do the right thing.
He wasn't running.
You don't always have time. Yeah.
When you're pressured on 64% of your dropbacks, you're screwed.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, you're screwed. And
you pizza before you French fry, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of my 3 things. Wilson looked better. The overall offensive scheme did in fact look better, despite the offensive line sucking. And I think that our depth pieces really did quite well. And in fact, this is exactly – he doesn't count. He's an idiot. He needs to go.
Dang.
So, John, on that note there, that's my number 4, but it just didn't quite make my top 3. But number 4 on my list, and I actually have it written here on my screen on the right here, which is, if it was brought up, so thank you, was Ben DiNucci. As far as
Ben DiNucci! Hey! Bafangu! Hey! There you go.
So Ben DiNucci is, as far as I'm concerned, a clear-cut quarterback too.
Hey, I got your DiNucci right here. Hey.
Sea Dragon, man. Sea Dragon.
Stidham, as far as I'm concerned, has an uphill battle to make the roster.
Oh, I take.
Sure. Yeah.
I got that too.
Yeah, there it is.
And I would actually go as far as saying this. DiNucci played so much better than Stidham that I think you should flip them for the preseason game 2 and see if DiNucci can still look as good as he did playing with the 2s. And like at the end of the day,
16 passer rating.
Oh, wait a second. Hit up Stidham's stats and hit up O'Connell's stats.
Stidham was 5 for 15, 50 yards.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Sorry, Guareb, you are so full of it right now. It's ridiculous. Okay.
Let's find the ratings.
The ratings.
Yeah.
O'Connell
looked good, and you had a touchdown.
for 18, 141, and one. Yeah, that's grossly different.
Yeah, that's definitely
They took about the same attempts.
right. That's about it.
That's
That's
it.
where it stops.
So
Yeah.
the
He
only
only
thing-
had 3 incompletions.
Yeah.
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 He looked,
And by the way, two of those were drops that Trey Tucker had. That should one of them should have been a 35-yard gain, and the other one was enough. Yeah,
Trey
I'm
caught
drafting him in Dynasty now.
Yeah.
The only,
I don't know.
So hold on. So the only thing that we saw from Stidham as a Broncos fan in that preseason game was they had a design play that had him rushing up the middle of the field.
Yeah, he did have 2 rushes, 19 yards.
And that was the only thing that he looked good at doing, which was
9.25 a carry.
Yeah, and that's pathetic because Ben didn't need to do that. He just moved the ball down the field.
We got him fired up.
Oh man, all caps. You know, series when it's all caps.
You know, man, he's screaming at
No. That's the way Guareb talks. And again, I appreciate Guareb for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, Guareb is one of the dudes that does hang out on my channel, and I give him props for that. But like I said, no, when he talks, it's all caps. That's regular.
All cap, baby. No cap.
I'm defending you, Guareb. I'm defending you.
So, GA Patriot, on that note there, the Broncos don't really need Stidham for McDaniel's playbook. He was already our head coach. We have a pretty good idea of what we're going to see. And
they signed him like a 2-year deal, didn't they?
Yeah. Like 5.
Get out.
They at 5
but I'm not convinced that any of it was actually guaranteed. I have to look at the contract.
No, I think at least one of those. I think at least one of those years were guaranteed.
They're about to swap him for Taysom Hill. Boom.
Boom.
No, but here's the kicker though, is okay. So let's say DiNucci signed for a much lesser deal. As a backup quarterback, even if you got DiNucci for this 1 year, say like $2 million or something a year, or $1.5 million, who cares?
$5 million guaranteed.
Yeah, $10 million in total, 5 guaranteed.
So okay, so what's DiNucci's contract?
Let's see.
Probably veteran minimum.
Yeah, probably.
Came from the Sea Dragons.
I thought it came from the Cowboys.
Hey, but he gets all the pasta fajoule he can eat. Hey, baby.
No, he just played in the XFL. That's why he got back. He signed a 1-year, $940,000 contract.
Okay, wow. so ask me.
That's for the minimum.
Right. Yeah. So he just signed for $900K. So let's say you cut Stidham and keep Ben DiNucci. So is $5.9 million a bad price to pay for a solid backup quarterback at the end?
No, unfortunately, you gave it to the wrong guy.
No, so you gave the big bag to the wrong dude, but you got a good backup quarterback.
Then you swap him,
and then you
to
swap
New Orleans, and get Taysom Hill.
Basically, my point is,
roll Taysom Hill in the building.
By the way, Taysom Hill is going to be in Denver before the trade deadline. It's happening.
By the way, I'm scouting right now. I'm scouting the Toronto Blue Jays catcher, because this dude has a gut bigger than me.
Yeah,
okay,
he's a beefy boy.
The roster spot. What's his name again? It's like
Varshow, isn't it? Or
no. Alejandro Kirk. And according to the stats, he weighs 245. That's crap. I weigh a little over 245, and this guy makes me look skinny.
Tell you who you need to scout is Daniel Vogelbach with the Mets.
Oh yeah.
He's a big old piece of beef.
He's about a sandwich short of a picnic.
He looks like John Kruk.
So, Captain, what you're saying is that the Toronto Blue Jays pitcher has had a few too many poutines.
Not the pitcher, the catcher.
I said the catcher.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. The catcher has had a few.
He looks like Giambi post-roid come down.
Yeah, this guy is. when he sits around the house, he sits around the house.
He's like,
I'm in shape. I'm round. That's what he said.
Yeah.
I'm sitting around.
Like I said, I was looking because you could see this, right? The guy's down in his squat, right, for pitching. I'm like, that dude
doesn't need to wear a cup.
That dude is fat. I'm sorry. I'm 58. I got an excuse, okay? This used to be up here. This guy's a professional baseball player, late 20s, early 30s. No excuse. And I defy that. I defy that too. Oh, as a baseball player, okay?
What is that a picture of?
Maybe as a defensive lineman, right? No, and he's still light as a defensive lineman.
Are we seeing this?
I am. I don't know what that is.
What?
What is that, Cat?
I don't know what that is.
What is what?
I'm not blowing it up.
I'm not touching it either. Just look
what?
at that.
No, this is my hernia.
Yeah.
This is my hernia.
Let me point you to the chat.
This is my hernia.
To the bottom.
No.
This is my hernia.
Is that a dog?
I'm sorry, that's a hernia. What? A bong?
At that, Cap. Look at the chat. Look at the chat. What is that?
What is this? They're talking to you.
Yeah.
How far up?
Show it. I'm not putting it up.
Not doing it.
I might have to. What up, Raider Ben? He's going Pizzle 4420.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, blow that up. Well, yeah, for the
what
video.
up, Captain Jack? Show it. This is my hernia?
No, what is
the chat? Look at the avatar.
Look at the picture.
Yes.
Oh,
Captain Jack.
Pizzle 440, 420. Oh, looks like a set of balls to me.
There we go. All right.
I thought he was talking about me and my hernia. Hey, Pizzle, nice nuts, man.
Wow. Oh. Good for you.
Oh, man.
There it is. It's blown up. Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, that looks like a dog.
Oh.
Those are nuts, though. Good on you, brother.
Those are most absolutely. Yeah, that is proven.
Oh, of course, he knows Raider Ben. That makes sense now.
No, you and Raider Ben.
So anyway,
names.
Those are the three positive things that I saw.
I said hernia. This is my hernia.
How we got there is beyond.
Those were nuts. No, those were nuts. This is my hernia. There you go.
It's my friend.
Oh, it's just yeah, I bet you that's a Frenchie, all right.
Coach, over to you on that note.
Let's try to reel us back in.
So with regards to your LA Chargers, what are the things that you saw that went well?
A lot of shit.
Yeah. But again, I preface it by saying that we played the Rams. Like, I'm not. Yeah. We do that against the 49ers or a Saints team, something like that, then I would be,
well, if you play the 49ers like you played the Rams, and because we just played the 49ers didn't look good, dude. I'm telling you, they didn't look good. And but if we play the Rams like we played, three number ones for him. 3 number ones.
That's
okay.
Off topic. Craziest stat though. Trey Lance has had like 418 pass attempts since leaving high school.
Wow.
There were dudes that had more than that just last year.
The crazier thing is what his trade turned into. It turned into Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Bradley Chubb, Channing Tittle, and 2 other draft picks. That's what the trade turned into.
For that.
So clearly,
this is our show, Bishop. This is AFC West camaraderie. Okay, hate the team, the teams. Don't hate the other people that are in here, except for him. Hate him. He's a smug. Except for him.
Yeah, but what went well, obviously, was the run game. I mean, the run game was definitely on point. I think that that definitely showed its prowess. I mean, regardless of what we went through, they definitely executed their blocks well in regards to getting the ball down the field in the run game. That was number one for me. that definitely was something that was a good sight to see. That Kellen is going to address and emphasize running the ball with the backs he has, because he was giving everybody the ball. I mean, clearly, Austin Eckler didn't play, but I think Isaiah Spiller saw touches, so did Josh Kelly, and even the new guy Elijah Dotson, who had 92 yards on the ground in the second half. 2 big touchdown runs in the game. So he definitely
got rid of my boy Roundtree right after that.
Yeah, right. I mean,
he packed Roundtree's bags for him, dude.
He probably did. He's a rookie, so he's like, yeah, let me get that for you.
Yeah.
Put that on the bus, because you won't be back. Yeah, so it's definitely a good thing to see as far as the run game being back. Like I said, I've always said that having a balanced attack on offense is definitely your best friend. Having a balanced run game as well as a good pass game is going to be going to carry well. It's going to travel well. So I'm definitely looking for Kellen to, I guess you can say, re-emphasize the run game and stick with it, and don't leave it just because it's not working in certain areas. Because that's, I think, what Joe Lombardi's biggest problem was, that if the run game wasn't working early, he would have abandoned it, and that was just done. So I think that's a big breath of fresh air, I guess you can say, when it comes down to what we saw from OC to OC. And speaking in the same vein, I think that another good point, another glaring point that we saw that was positive was Kellen Moore's play calling. He was on the field instead of in the box. He was calling plays from the field, and the diversity of his play calling and the route combination that he was calling in the first half, because quite frankly, I think he kind of felt sorry for the Rams in the second half, and he just ran the ball consecutively, just to kind of get out the game. But, that's typically what you do. I mean, me playing and coaching in high school and college, when the team is overwhelmed or overmatched, you just typically run the ball, keep the clock running and just get out there with a W, right?
I hate that.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I hate that. I was always of the opinion, and so was I came up from rugby, not football. I came from
you got to pound them into submission.
Yeah. No. Like we won games by blowouts in rugby that were like basketball scores.
And I liked when we got to take a knee and I could just talk a bunch of trash to the dude.
My rugby coach would have us basically run the other team to a point where they were so embarrassed that they didn't want to shake our hand at the end of the game.
Wow.
And
y'all were Bishop Sycamore, dude.
And so
you got a doc coming out against him, right?
I know.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
You're Dallas Carter.
Let's put it this way: I come from a family where we don't believe in the mercy rule. We think that when you play sports, you should beat the other team so badly that they should actually want to then improve themselves.
Oh, sweep the leg, Johnny. Sweep the leg.
Dan O'Doyle.
Exactly. Yeah, and so my whole thing, and this is like, I literally broke my leg in a rugby game, and when I say broke it, I mean I shattered it. And I was sitting on the sideline, and my dad walks up and says, Rich, where are you? And then he looks down and goes, oh, you broke your leg. Do you want to leave now or after the game?
Okay.
Okay, so
just rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. Like, do you want to leave now or do you want to wait till after the game?
Or some robot testing.
Right, and
we'll be all right.
And so my answer was, after the game, we haven't finished yet. And so you have to understand, it's like my family comes from.
You're built different.
Like we're just built differently. Like we are not normal. and so I shattered my leg in the first quarter of the first half of the game.
Shattered. Shadube. Shattered.
I picture Rich's dad like that Spike's dad in Little Giants. He's like,
yes.
That kid can run he weighs 230. Bench press 275. He's running a 3-minute mile time. He's like, Richie, time for milk. Protein. You're so pulling his arm.
like my dad played semi-pro football and semi-pro soccer. I played competitive rugby and I was recruited nationally. So we're just built differently from people. We just don't believe in quitting or giving up. Pain is an option. Ignore it, move on, that kind of stuff. Like that, those are like the principles that I grew up with. So when I hear like football stuff where, it's like the guy sprained his leg and I'm like, he did what? Why didn't he finish? Stop whining.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, it's like once the whole lawsuit with concussions happened, everything went from CYA rather than, play. So.
Right. But ultimately, when I just generally speaking, I think that a lot of things are overblown, and I think a lot of guys can recover from a lot more than what's being let on, especially when like I hear these guys like, I broke my leg, and it's like, okay, and like, so I'm not good now. It's like, well, how long has it been? A year? And of course, my gut reaction is shut up and move on.
Yeah.
Right. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah, but like I said, the diversity of the play calling with Kellen Moore's offense looked like night and day from him and Lombardi. That's a good sign. So that's plus number 2 for me, and the pass rush was number 3. Two of the guys pressured, so the Chris Rump looked pretty good in year 3 of him. So our reserve pass rushers looked pretty good. We even had a sack by a guy that's part of the European national program.
All that.
Yeah, CJ Okoye. That might be the new GM nightmare. If he makes the team, right? So he had a sack late in the game. So in the sideline went nuts when he got a sack. So feel good story.
I got a question for you.
Sideline went nuts just like Tizzle's picture.
Frenchie, dude.
Wow. Yeah,
Frenchie was there.
That was a good feel good story. And like I said, the sideline went crazy.
Yeah, feel good story.
It was the first professional football game ever. Like I think it was the first actually organized football game ever. So when you get a second game was definitely it was a good look. It was a good look. I definitely appreciated that. So yeah, so pass rush, the run game, and the diversity in the play call is my top 3.
So Coach, on your number 1 best thing that you saw or improvements or whatever you want to call it, question for you is, do you believe that you're going to see a change in the Chargers in terms of how they're playing?
Absolutely.
So what I mean by that is Kellen Moore comes from the Cowboys offense, which typically runs the ball more than the Chargers are used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to like belittle or say anything negative, but let's be honest, the Chargers they had
that's pretty well known.
It's a fact. Yeah, it's not conjecture, it's a fact.
Yeah. So you guys abandoned the run and all that kind of stuff pretty easily last season and several seasons, or for multiple seasons now. And so then the question is, do you believe that you're going to then present as a more balanced offense? And then as a result, and I guess this kind of goes into our last episodes, will Eckler then become a more important part of your offense, and do you then see him getting paid on a long-term basis?
Well, yeah, I mean, it all boils down to how he performs in the offense, but I do think he's going to be a valuable weapon. I think that what we're going to see from Kellen Moore's offense is going to be different from last year, is that more emphasis on the run game and more shots downfield. We would definitely void of both of those last year. So I think we're going to see both of those nuances come into play.
That's all Kellen Moore loves to do, man.
Exactly. That's his MO. So again, if you're a void of that, you bring somebody that likes to do
PA deep out.
Right. The good man play. That's a good man play.
I know.
I like that. Good reference. But yeah, I think that those particular things are going to be prevalent in the office. And I think that, again, and we talk about top of the show, how one thing plays on another, right? When you have a good run game, it open up the play action passes, it opens up the D shots. So once you establish the run and you can make people focus on it and make people respect it, if nothing else, and that opens up offense tenfold. And with Herbert's unlimited, range in his arm, sky's the limit for guys that can really run and get downfield. Your Mike Williams, your Quentin Johnson, your Jalen Guyton, and Darius Davis. You saw him in on the field with his 4.2 speed. So yeah, I believe that that's definitely going to be something that's going to be a staunch difference from from this year to last year. And I think that us having a solid line, and solidified and being together for another year, like this is the first time in a long time that I think that the line as a whole has been together for more than a year. Like it's always been a different piece here or there that's been different in the last 4 to 5 years. So this line is in its entirety has been together for 2 solid seasons. O-line. So O-line. So I think that that's definitely something that's going to benefit us in pass pro and in the run game, especially because I think we kind of shifted to a more of a, I guess you can say a power and trapping scheme versus a zone run scheme too. So I think that's going to be a good nuance to Kellen Moore's offense is going to be good for the offense as well. So yeah, overall, I'm liking what it was happening so far. And like I said, just getting downhill with those big hog mollies, like these says Zion and Jamari. Just they're built for run blocking. They're literally built for, and they're in their natural positions because they moved Jamari from tackle to right guard and moved Zion to left guard, which he played in college. So that
they got Slater back, who's like manhandling Bosa.
Right. Yeah, so everybody's comfortable. Everybody's comfortable. Yeah. I saw that. He's Bosa could do that later.
Bad.
So we don't say this very often on the show, guys, but one thing that will really help us here on the show is liking and subscribing to each of our channels. What really helps bolster people to come and see us here is to one, ignore Alex here on the show because he has refused to start up a YouTube channel. But aside from Alex,
it's in the works.
If you go ahead and like each of our videos here, it really helps.
Follow me on Twitter. Ain't nobody follow me on Twitter, and I've been doing this show for over a year.
Hey, I follow you on Twitter, schmuck.
Well, you don't count.
Alex.
Oh, okay. Well, just for that, I'm going to show you my hernia again. Okay.
I gotta pay for this.
So, not to rub salt in the wound, Alex. I've had 3 people follow me on Twitter over just on this show alone.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Everyone.
No
love for the Smug King, huh? No love for the Smug King.
Yeah.
But with regards to just everything, we want to get more fans of our team come and join us live, provide comments, give us some feedback, all that sort of thing. Go ahead and hit those like buttons on the video. Let's get more people to see the show.
Besides, what's the only show you can see where you can see a big dude? You can see my ass occasionally, and a lot of times I'll stick my fingers up my nose too. So I pick my nose, show my ass, and even rub my belly. You can't get entertainment like this.
Right after church,
and it's free. You got to pay for it on my OnlyFans page.
On the show, you got to respect.
All on Hump Day.
It's here on the show.
All on Hump Day.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, don't get me started on
out midweek.
I just want to let you know that you're 3 for 3 today. I just want to give you your credit. You're 3 for 3 today. I like what you're doing over there.
Who was that directed at? Who's 3 for 3?
Richie.
Oh,
Richie?
Yeah.
I had a topic
at work today. I'm like a 10 for 10 today at work today. I basically shut everybody down, and this is I just
might be easy on those. You get slapped with a sexual harassment suit.
Hey, no cooch for me, Sencal, but I do know a chick. I do know.
So I think we've covered all of our guys. I think we've covered all of our positive things, Alex. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a question for the group though.
I had a topic, mainly because Coach used the trigger word that made me think of this, and I wanted to see what you guys in the chat thought. But I know you guys have all. You mentioned feel good story, right? So I know we've all seen this news breaking with Michael Orr, aka Mr. Blindside, and the fact that his family, or alleged family, didn't adopt him and potentially stole money. And but family since come out, so I wanted to just, I'm gauging people. You think that his story's true, or what's going down with that?
According to the Tui's lawyer, he's full of crap, and I have a feeling that it's probably. Come on, you waited all this while to find out that you didn't get a dime from the movie.
That's my thought. The lawyer
to
me thought he ran out of money and said, "Hey, this movie made all this money. Where's my money from that?" And they're like,
"Because you spent it, you schmuck."
Like, now they got to make. I hope it works out in his favor, so they can make a sequel, though. Blindsided.
Blindsided.
Yeah. Right.
That's at least an ESPN spend.
And the family's lawyer came out and said too that he tried to shake him down for like $15 million instead of
you go.
I'm going to the press. So it's like,
well, and this
if that ain't in writing though, that ain't true.
This situation is one side and the other, then is the truth. Like Like, what? The truth is somewhere in that story. Like, it's probably what both of them sides are saying. Some of it's true and some of it's false. We just don't know what the honest to God truth is. We just don't know. But I would love to say, because the whole adoption thing kind of bothers me, I would love to see what paperwork or lack thereof is. Like, show me some documents. Like, if you want
to, that's another sketchy thing about that.
Where you weren't adopted. Like, show me either the Tuohy's, show me where you adopted him, show me that paperwork, or show me where he was never adopted in the system. Like, there's no paper trail.
Like you said, according to the lawyer's statement, that he acknowledged 3 times in the book of the conservatorship, not the adoption.
Yeah, and that's that's one thing I thought that was fishy with it when both sides came out. Is he said he didn't. They told him it's basically the same thing, but then obviously the wife goes that she's a motivational speaker and uses this story and claims she adopted him. But then when their lawyer responds, it's all about, well, no, they did a conservatorship because they were concerned about his college eligibility, and this was the right. So like they tried to kind of step back, So it's like, again, with like Coach said, there's 2 sides and then the actual story. So I mean, we'll see what happens with it. But I think it's kind of weird to be coming out now when he was like you were in the league for 10 years and you didn't have like one financial advisor or something that was like,
nobody told you, like, even while you're making money in the NFL, nobody told you, oh, by the way, the Tuohy's are making money hand over fist with this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I got
unless it was such a unique relationship with him that with how they helped him, right, or how that was portrayed. I mean, you don't know how it actually went, but
exactly,
how that was portrayed. Maybe he kind of just like trusted them up to this point, and then somehow. I mean, I think it said he found out in like February of this year that he wasn't actually adopted. And I'm like,
crazy. I mean, you're young. You don't necessarily know everything in regards to what people are telling you. You just believe them. You tell a kid the sky is gray, they're going to believe you. You know what I mean? Because
I'm looking up DZ.
They're just naturally trusting, like, you know what I mean? So if you're naturally trusting like that and you believe these people have your best interest at heart, you're going to take their word for it. So it could have been that. Again, I'm sure there's some truth to both sides and some lies on both sides. It's just a question of
you're generally correct. DZ, you're generally correct.
He earned $35 million basically in his 9-year career.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
He earned that, and then adopted. You're right. On the flip side, does not earn that stuff there. I do want to quickly go through the 2 major items that the Broncos need to improve on in preseason game 2, and I'm going to be very, very quick. 1, we need to see major offensive lineman improvement. We need to see major progression in our offensive line, both blocking on the run and blocking in the pass. The other alternative is we need to sign somebody else to bridge that gap, because what we saw in that first preseason game was trash. And second, we need to come up with a proper identity. Right now, we don't really have one. You're either going to be a passing game, like a passing team. Alex, I'm going to kind of throw to you, like the Chiefs are, or Coach. Like the Chargers have been in these past few years past, you are primarily a passing team, or you need to then own yourself and own the identity of being a running team. You need to pick one. You have to kind of like know what you want to do and how you want to do it. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. You need to kind of like be that thing. And the Broncos need to own a specific identity under Sean Payton. I'd like to see that being a little bit more clearly defined. Otherwise, your linemen are going to understandably be confused in terms of what their emphasis needs to be, what they need to do, what they need to focus on. And also, your GM will not know what type of linemen they need to draft primarily. Do you want the hog mollies that move guys out the way for the run game? Or do you want the pass pro guys that are maybe more nimble and maybe have better footwork in that style of the game? You ultimately need to pick one, because typically speaking, they don't translate well into one another. They just don't. You're dealing with 2 different skill sets by and large when you're talking about physically moving guys out the way versus stopping someone from getting past you. Different skill sets all the way around. So those are my 2 major items for the Denver Broncos in terms of what I'd like to see from improvements in the next game and whatnot. Another thing I do want to make note of, this is just for all of our teams, is Clayton Tune, the backup quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. He was really good. And I mean really, really good. And if they choose to stick with Colt McCoy, I would expect that he's going to immediately slot in as a QB2 for several teams. I would love for him to slot in for QB2, even for the Broncos, if I'm going to be honest. He played that well, as far as I'm concerned, from what I saw for the Cardinals. Just something else to look out for. I think he's going to do quite well at the NFL level. Maybe not get to that elite top 10, but I think he's going to be that guy that he's too good to not let go. I think he's going to be that journeyman in the NFL that kind of becomes like the almost could have but didn't quite get to that top tier at the NFL quarterback level. For a guy who was drafted in the, I think, 6th round or something, that's pretty darn good. And I expect to see a lot more from him. So something to keep in mind. Alex, over to you.
Boom. Okay. 2 big improvements or things to improve. Number one, kind of a 2-pronged thing, because the number one thing they need to do to improve is get Chris Jones back, sign him to an extension, which would inevitably improve the effective pass rush with the front four. So, both, like I said, go hand in hand, but I think are the most important thing for the Chiefs to be successful this next year, or continue being successful, is to bring Chris Jones back and make sure that they have a pass rush presence. Then number 2, I would say, is to continue in terms of preseason working towards week 1, continue to get the number 1 offensive line in sync with each other, mainly because they are replacing both the right and left tackles. And I wouldn't say they played bad, but Mahomes and Blaine Gabbert, I mean, we're hurried at times. Mahomes had to scramble, which is something that makes you kind of hold your breath in the preseason. So, and Donovan Smith, for being a veteran guy from the Bucs, he, for the most part, looked like himself at left tackle. And I don't think Jonathan Taylor played all that bad either. I mean, they didn't give up any sacks, but you would like to see a little more in tuneness among the front 5 and keeping the pressure light so the QBs don't have to scramble around. And the reason I think that that's something they need to improve on is I found it pretty interesting that the number 1 offensive line didn't come out when Mahomes came out. So, that they kind of stressed the importance with that too, to keep him out there with Gabbert and get some more exposure with Gabbert and make sure they're all on the same page. So I'd say those are the 2 big things that they need to worry about this preseason to be able to hit week 1 of regular season ready to roll.
Awesome. And I think that, Coach, have you given your 2 things yet for improvement?
No, real quick. I think in cutting down on the penalties, definitely priority 1. I think we need to do that. That's the biggest, most glaring thing. And 2, keep improving our run defense and our run fits. Getting these guys that's going to play in the preseason, more acclimated and in the right positions to make plays. But I think that's the biggest, most glaring thing, because when you have your D linemen holding up their area, and those linebackers get downhill, you're in good shape. But until you get that done on a consistent basis, it's going to be a point of emphasis, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So,
shout out GA Patriot. Follow me on Twitter. Let's go.
There you
fantastic.
There you go.
You got a sympathy follow. Congratulations.
Yeah, a pity follow. I'll take it.
A pity follow is still a follow, brother. A pity, because obviously I don't effing count, but that's okay. Okay. So please, please, everybody follow. Damn it, I'm bad today. I'm like 0 for 4 on finger points today from original. Follow the smug schmuck to my whatever I'm pointing at. It's on the right of your screen. follow the schmug that see it's a schmug if you do it in betwixt. But yeah, there you go.
So we've covered a lot. The preseason is really a time for our teams to figure out who we are, who's going to make the team, and more importantly, who we don't want to let go of. We're going to have a lot more film to break down for you next week on the Wild Wild West. And until next time, where the West Side is the best side, and we have a lot more for you next week. Peace!
Hi Anna, hi Carrie!
Feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.